da 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 da. Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Chris and this is Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Here's the part where I put all that Jedi training to good use.
We're starting out with just basic onslaught mode. Basically, I have a minute on the clock there, up on the top there, and I just have to kill as many enemies as I can to keep that clock moving. Can't run out of time. I just have to keep on killing. So here we go. While I do this, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Star Wars because it's something I love and it's something I love to talk about. So this video is going to be all about the Clone Wars and the prequels, I suppose. I think that the prequels are pretty fun. At their core, they're movies made for kids. When Phantom Menace came out, I was about 9 years old. 8 or 9 years old, and it was right up my alley. I absolutely loved it. I remember it was one of the first movies I had on DVD, so I would actually go back and watch essentially the end of the movie, like the big battle at Theed between the Gungans and the battle droids, and then it would flip to right, I'm standing here. It would flip to the duel between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Darth Maul, and I would just watch that all the time. All the time. Like, there was, I think, the summer that I had that, I watched it, like, every morning when I woke up. It was just a blast. Somebody asked Rian Johnson about the prequels, and he said something to the effect of, yeah, George Lucas made a 7-hour movie for children that was about the downfalls of fascism and how people could be, like, seduced into evil, basically. It's definitely gone through a little bit of a gambit, a little bit of a different thoughts and opinions over the years. When they first came out, people thought they were awful, they were horrible, and as soon as we became in the sequel era, now people absolutely love the prequels and can't get enough of them, and they're just fantastic, they're masterpieces. And I think that's going to happen to everything Star Wars. Everyone is going to revolt at whatever's new. And then once a new thing comes out, then we'll go back and say, you know, maybe that original thing wasn't so bad. You know, there's a lot of nostalgia there. I think, you know, maybe we were too hard on it. So I think that there's a ton to work with, not just the memes, but I think that while the dialogue was a little bit stiff, I think that there was a lot of cool stuff in the prequels, and it was awesome to see, like, all of the Jedi and this full-scale combat, you know, this full-scale war breakout, and we saw that happen essentially in real time. Whew. Alrighty, well, that is going to do it for Anakin on Geonosis. Let's find something else to do. Alright, for this one, we are doing Obi-Wan, and we are on Kamino. I figured this was appropriate.
Yoda was sending me somewhere relaxing.
With Obi-Wan's investigation, he was the main one on Kamino, especially in Attack of the Clones, which, rewatching Attack of the Clones, I thought there's a ton of great stuff in there. It's a very noir detective story, where, you know, your detective happens to be Obi-Wan Kenobi instead of this hard-boiled, you know, Pinkerton-style detective. Which I thought was really cool. It's very foreboding and mysterious, you know, even though the silly 50s diner gets a lot of crap, I think that it's a really cool investigation to watch Obi-Wan go, you know, to the archives, to the diner, like, to unraveling this mystery and finally ending up where he's just sort of welcomed with open arms, saying, "Oh, we've been expecting you," and he's kind of like, what? I think that the casting of the prequel trilogy was outstanding. It was just phenomenal. Obviously, Ewan McGregor just becomes Alec Guinness. I know anytime they ask him to reprise his role, whether it's for like reshoots or like for the obviously I'm recording this before Kenobi comes out, they always ask him like, "Hey, did you want us to like bring up footage of your performance so that you can kind of get back into that character?" And he always says, "No, don't bring up my performance, bring up Alec Guinness's. I'm not trying to do my own thing. I'm just trying to extend what Alec Guinness did in the original trilogy." Which is amazing. I know Hayden Christensen gets a lot of flack for his sort of stiff performance, especially in Attack of the Clones. I think he did a phenomenal job because that's exactly what an awkward teenager would be when he's that sheltered and that secluded. I mean, he's raised by essentially monks. He's not going to be the smoothest cat around, you know? They did such a good job with, I think Natalie Portman did a fantastic job. She's great. And I also love that her double, Keira Knightley, looks so much like her that even on set, their own parents couldn't tell them apart on the set of Phantom Menace. Which is just... it's a great story, I love it. Kamino is a lovely location. It is always raining, and as my friends always say, you know, I hear the weather on Kamino is lovely this time of year. So... that is a running joke, especially after the Republic Commando books, which we'll get into in a little bit. But that is Obi-Wan on Kamino. Let's see what other Clone War trouble we can get into. Alright, this is Yoda on Kashyyyk. It was kind of cool to see Yoda in the prequels. It was a little bit different from what you originally imagined his character to be. I never really expected to see Yoda carry a lightsaber. This is a cool vista. I love the Star Destroyer back there. That is in the movie, but it's just like way in the background and it's super hard to notice. But like if you're looking for it, you're like, oh yeah, there's a Star Destroyer just parked on Kashyyyk. So wild. Anyway, I thought it was really cool watching Yoda and Mace Windu kind of go through this whole thing of, you know, they say we're keepers of the peace, we're not soldiers, we're trying to prevent this conflict, and it turns so suddenly into, well, we're generals now and we're leading this conflict, we're trying to keep the Republic together, even though I don't think that was really in their wheelhouse. I think that the Jedi should have stayed more neutral in the Clone Wars. I understand why they didn't, because obviously it's in their best interest to keep the Republic alive, because of their already close relationship. I think it's really strange how easily they got manipulated into just basically leading this whole galactic conflict, and I think it speaks to the corruption of the Republic, and I think that's exactly what George Lucas was going for. There's a quote from Count Dooku, I think, where he's basically talking about how at a certain point, that guy flew, that was hilarious. At a certain point, the Jedi cannot help the slaves of Tatooine, but they can help the slave masters. Once you're sitting next to corruption so long, you kind of start to ignore just how that corruption is affecting you. You grow numb to it, basically. That was awesome. Which, it's one of those quotes where you're like, am I identifying with the villain right now? But Yeah, I think the whole aesthetic, the clone troopers are awesome, and I absolutely love the clones and their story, their heritage. I obviously come from the old expanded universe of Karen Travis's Republic Commando novels, which really detailed the clone troopers trying to become Mandalorians, since they didn't really have a culture. They were just kind of bred in a vat and said, hey, your very existence is to fight this war for us. So they kind of tried to find a culture with their Mandalorian trainers. Through Jango, through, in that story, it was Cal Scarata and Waylon Val were the Mandalorian trainers that it followed. But those were great, and honestly, partially the reason why I couldn't go from that to the Clone Wars animated series, because they contradicted each other so much, and I already had this huge love of those novels that I couldn't make it work between how they treated the clones in that animated series and the novels. Whew! Alright, so that is Yoda on Kashyyyk, and that is the Clone Wars. So that is going to do it for this episode. Stay tuned. Next week we are going to dive into more of this. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Dun, 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 dun,